Here we go. Welcome back to another Ab Summer Target with hockey coach Coach Frenchy. Directly for the beautiful country of Thailand on amazing great Wednesday night, last day, no, July 30. I'm at the last day right now and Thursday in Thailand, but for you guys, it's Wednesday, July 30, 2025. Hopefully, have an amazing, great week so far. And yes, end of the July, and we're still talking about hockey. Imagine we're going to be in September and October, and for upcoming season, more information about hockey is going to be higher with the Montreal Canadiens, of course, because we expect a lot. But we are in July. They have the World Junior Summer Showcase in Minnesota right now, and a couple of prospects from Montreal are doing well. I'm going to talk about this tonight. But the big subject is about back to the future. It's something we're going to review all the trait, the biggest trait of Montreal Canadiens, but the bad one. We're going to review all the bad selection draft by the Montreal Canadiens the last 15 years. We're going to see what it would change if we pick that players versus another players. What it would good happen if we have that player now compared like another players. Can Montreal change the outcome in the last 5 years? A lot of things to talk about this. I think it will be a fun subject to talk. And don't forget Friday night, the fun Friday night with the hockey coach, Coach Frenchy. And we're going to be back Sunday for the recap of the week. And next week, we're going to be a little bit more active on the live stream. So stay tuned for more show like we do every night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But back of the future is going to help me to figure out what it looked like for the Montreal Canadiens. Every Wednesday night is a co-host with the Hockey Nation. He sit at home in Hawkesbury. Wait to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. Wait to talk about the NHL. Of course, I'm talking about Marko Larabie is in the house tonight.
Yes, sir. Welcome, guys. Welcome back to the future. Hey, so, Coach, I know you know nothing about movies. Have you ever seen the movie Back to the Future?
Honestly, I see some, but I didn't saw the movie the full from the
Okay.
beginning to the end. I just thought it was Michael J. Fox, but that's pretty much it.
Yes. Okay. Good for you. Okay. I didn't think you would even know that. That's good. So, if this is Back to the Future, does that make you the professor, Doc Brown, and that makes me Marty McFly? I guess.
I
I
have
think
no
so.
clue. I have no clue. I remember the professor, but I don't know what happening. So I cannot
Okay.
recall everything. I think the only thing I think I did, I think they make two movie.
Oh, three of them. Yeah. There's three of them. Yeah.
Well, them see, I'm not that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
missed
Yeah.
one. I don't know which one I missed, but I missed one of them for sure for that one. But one thing I know, I did not miss the back of the future for the Montreal Canadiens. So we're going to do this tonight. I think it will be a fun for July, and I think we're going to create some kind of conversation. So I can wait to talk about the back to future. But we have a couple of news in NHL. I'm going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. Some prospects are doing well. And we have the last update happening for the last 20 minutes. I'm going to make some video for all of you for that one, so I think it will be great. And we have a few people in the house tonight. We're going to welcome all of them very quickly. RJ Calabro with all the news around the NHL. Thanks for bringing all those contents, Mr. RJ Calabro, the man from New Jersey. My friend Guy back in the house. Welcome back, Guy. We know Billy, your friend Billy. I associate Guy and Billy together. Billy is on vacation right now in Newfoundland. Visit his family, I believe. He's going to be back next week from Nova Scotia. Maybe Billy, he went to the Alex Newhook tournament and is with Albert Jekai and Jaden Sobel fishing somewhere in Newfoundland, for what we heard. Gary Conway on the sideline show up every single night right now. Thanks so much, Gary. Thanks to be with us. Hopefully, doing well. And Montreal, it looked like it's a canicule. I said yesterday, la panicule, but it's a canicule. Sometimes my French is losing. I lose my French sometimes, but and if you
Mhm.
watch TVS Sport, you can watch Eugenie Bouchard live play tennis right there, and it looked like it's very
Yeah.
hot. So is it hot in Hawkesbury, or is it like, are you
Oh
in the
yeah.
same situation?
Yeah, we have the big heat wave here, like really, really hot. Like it takes me about 3.5 hours to mow my lawn because I don't have like a ride mower. I have like a push mower. We have like almost 3/4 of an acre. So this weekend, man, it was hot. Like I had to do it in shifts. I was, mowing my lawn in like 30, 40 minute increments because it was just too hot, man. But good story about Eugenie Bouchard. I didn't even know she was still playing, but she's gonna be retiring, I guess, after this tournament.
Yeah,
Is that right?
this could be maybe she's losing right now. So maybe the last match in tennis, professional for her. She looked good. Like
Wow.
when I say look good, not the
Yeah, yeah.
but she looked good
He
play
always
right
looks
there.
good.
She look
Always
at
looks good.
because she not play like a full time. She can move left and right very well. So the cardio was there. It's just at some point she play again the 17 overall and the ranking. So look, I just saw maybe 10 minutes. I was eating at the same time. So
Yeah.
look,
Layla, did you watch Layla Fernandez?
I
She's now
I
ranked number
saw
25.
what she lost, but I don't see them. I saw the first set of the match. So that's pretty much sure. I don't watch too much tennis, but it was just coming from my
Tennis.
TV. So.
Tennis is awesome. Tennis is probably my favorite. Like I like baseball too, but tennis is really fun to watch during the summer. Right now, we're kind of in a golden age of tennis for if you're Canadian, right? So
Yeah,
many great Canadian players, so it's a lot of fun to watch for sure.
right about that. Roy is in the house for Bangkok. Welcome back, Roy. Hopefully, an amazing, great morning over there. And we're RG with baseball game today. Toronto 9 and the Baltimore 8. So Toronto look like they're doing well overall. And that's what we got so far. Don't forget, everybody, to click on the like, subscribe, and become a member of the Hockey Nation channel. If you don't mind, that'd be great. So let's go move on. What we do at the beginning of the show, the Wednesday night, we do headlines. And what we got tonight, Marco brings some kind of fun headlines. So we'll see what you have, Marco. Do you want me to put a picture first, both of them, or
Maybe the non-animated one, just the one with all the real players on it.
not many players on it?
No, the one with all the players on it.
Okay, this one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, yeah. All right, so so guys, they're back, but are they for real? So, and this is just something I put together with AI. You have like, is there too much hype around the Montreal Canadiens? These are not real headlines, by the way. This is just AI, but are they really ready? Are they Stanley Cup worthy? They're not underdogs anymore. So the reason I kind of brought this up is that I've been watching I always watch a lot of different podcasts. It's that time of the year where a lot of podcasts and media people are kind of putting together their predictions for next year. And, you can really see a difference as somebody who watches a lot of hockey content that's not just based in Montreal. You can see that the hockey world, like across the NHL, the opinion around the Montreal Canadiens is absolutely changing. Them making the playoffs last year, Demidov, the hype around Demidov, Hudson winning the Calder, all these things happening. You can see, like, I even saw some Toronto-based podcasts, even some of them mentioning that maybe Montreal would finish ahead of Toronto in the Atlantic Division next year. So the hype train is moving. You have all these podcasters that are saying, the dark horse this year is the Montreal Canadiens. Watch out for the Montreal Canadiens. The rebuild is over. You keep hearing more and more and more about that. So it's exciting, as a Montreal Canadiens fan. Either we never heard, like, either Montreal wasn't part of the conversation, people just weren't talking about them, or it was negative, right? Like, they're still in a rebuild and everything else, right? And talking about kind of how they're finishing is more about their prospects and everything else. But now you can kind of see the hype train really, really building. And that's exciting. But coach, I don't know if you agree, but as it stands right now, Montreal is still the youngest team in the NHL, and there's still some really big question marks on the roster. So I'm a little concerned about how the fan base is going to, especially maybe even the players, right? You have all these young players. For sure, they read social media. For sure, they're on YouTube. They might even be watching our show sometimes, coach, but I'm sure they see that stuff. Like recently, we heard that Jack Guy mentioned that he watches, who's that guy? The guy from out east there? He watches podcasts like on YouTube. Jack confirmed it. So I'm just a little concerned that they're going to start believing their own press a little bit, because there's a lot of question marks. And listen, I'm excited for the season. Like we talked about this last episode, Coach. This is like probably the most exciting time to be a Habs fan in like the last 25 years, right? Just because there's so much hope. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be hopeful. I'm just saying that I'm concerned that our expectations are being raised because, especially on the penalty kill, Coach, like that's the kind of part that scares me a little bit. Like losing Dvorak, losing Armia, face-offs on the left side, all those little things. Losing David Savard, I know people were shitting over David Savard last year, but he ate a lot of minutes, blocked a lot of shots. So listen, I'm very excited. The hockey world seems very excited as well, really starting to believe in the Montreal Canadiens. Mais on se garde une petite gêne, comme on dit en français. Let's be a little bit cautious here, because it's it happens pretty often that you see a team like a coach, you brought it up before as an example, the New Jersey Devils. The New Jersey Devils make the playoffs, and then whoops, they take a little slide back the year after, right? So another picture I put together here. So everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. You have all the podcasters and reporters trying to jump on the bandwagon. You have Nick Suzuki driving it, and we're running over poor Leafs and Bruins fans there too. But is a little too soon to be jumping on the bandwagon. I hope not. Like I hope everything goes super well, and they really do take an extra step next year. But I just thought it was interesting, Coach, because again, you and I are both the same. I'm sure a lot of people here watch a lot of content from all over the NHL. Have you noticed that too, Coach? Like it's not just people in Montreal that are hyped about it, but a lot of experts, a lot of podcasts. You can see they're hyping up the Canadiens for this year. Have you noticed that too?
Absolutely right about that. If you're listening, Sirius, the NHL network. If you
Yeah,
watch what's going on with Daily Off, is it Daily Off, Daily Face Off, or
daily
the
face off. Yeah,
there you go. If you watch the Athletic, many of them are really excited for the Montreal Canadiens, not only this year, but you really believe that team is going on the right direction. So you're right. You have a turnover right here from other outside of Montreal. I think now they're going to pay a little bit more attention. I think they saw the transaction happening during summer. They get Bolzuk, they had Demidov, and now they have also the defenseman
Dobson.
Dobson. So I think this
Yeah,
is going to attract more viewers around the outside of the Montreal. And you're right. I think I got excited for the last couple of days, Marco. Like I think they can surprise everybody to jump another level of hockey. But if it's not happening, but I think they are just readjust and they're going to figure out what they need to do. So I'm not worried about bad performance. Sometimes the reason usually did not make it 2 years ago, I believe, was many injuries. You never know. You start the season with some hope and expectation, and then everything changes with different thing happens on a year. So hope the best for Montreal Canadiens. But the youngest team in NHL, they have a couple of prospects are looking good, and then you have, of course, the core with a little bit more experience, and they have a couple of great players. The salary cap is a great situation. I talked about this yesterday on the video
yeah,
for the next 5 years.
yeah.
This team is built on the right track. Now, of course, everything have to be on the ice, produce on the ice better. But overall, yeah, I think for me, we not go backwards. We just be figure out after the season next year what's going to happen. But again, next year, Price, Madison, and Liney are going to be out of the salary cap. They have to figure out with those decisions. Or you said that the roster construction. So that's going to be happening next year. So will be really
Yeah.
interesting what happening. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think we can agree, Coach, that at the very least, the one thing that I notice a lot of people say about the Montreal Canadiens too is they're going to be one of the more exciting teams to follow next year, right? So some people may not believe that they're going to, win the Stanley Cup or, finish ahead of the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they're going to be one of those teams, teams that, for people who watch all kinds of games and you have to kind of choose, okay, which game am I going to watch tonight out of all the games that are on? A lot of people are going to be choosing to watch Montreal because they're going to be an exciting young team to watch. They're going to be excited to watch Hudson, Demidov, like all the young players. So at the very least, it's going to be exciting hockey. And as fans, then we're really lucky to be able to experience that.
The last couple of years it's fun to watch. Whatever you don't like Toronto, but a couple of years our different team was really good. Tampa Bay, Toronto, a lot of power, Colorado, Vegas, and but Dallas. But now you're going to see a shift. I think Montreal, Anaheim, um, Utah, San Jose.
Yep.
Maybe
Yep.
the next Chicago is coming very soon. The
Columbus
next
too.
3 years,
Columbus is
Chicago could be a really good position about that. So you have a turn of the wheel, a couple of new teams coming. Now we're going to welcome everybody. Some of them, Peter August, Ron is with us. Raju Bouchard, welcome back. Thanks to be a part of the show, everyone. Don't forget, please, to click on the likes. And we have a couple of questions. Go to answer. I'm going to remove this. Marco is on it before we do my outline. And first is going to be Gary Conway. I think the Habs are the most improved team in the Atlantic Division. Baltic improvement from Armia. Velano has the potential to replace Devorak and Thompson over Savard. If Demidov, I see improvement. I think you talk about this. I think I just mentioned that. I think it's better. I think the lineup roster is better today than
Yeah,
it was.
for sure. Like there's a lot of great improvements, but the one thing that people may be overlooking is the experience, right? Is the experience in key things. And like again, like I don't see, until proven otherwise, we don't know if Veleno is going to be able to replace Dvorak. We just don't know. Like we don't, like he doesn't have the same proficiency in the face-offs, and he's not super well known as a two-way player either. So listen, there's no question. I'm not saying that Montreal isn't improved. Like Dobson, but here's another thing, Coach. Who won the offseason last year? Everybody after after free agency, everybody was all excited. Well, not everybody, but most people were really excited about Nashville. They think Nashville
Najee
won the
was
offseason.
a playoff team.
Yeah. So, just because you win the offseason, and I'm like, you can argue between Utah and Montreal are the teams that won the offseason. Like you have Paterka. A lot of people think Utah had a really good summer as well, but I would say Montreal is right there. The teams that got much better over the summer. But I'm just saying that sometimes the devil is in the detail, guys. To me, again, I'm going to be following the penalty kill very, very, very closely, because that's, like we talked about, that was a strength of the Montreal Canadiens last year. So listen, Gary, I totally agree with you. These are great improvements. I see, again, the only
What
question
I would
mark for
say
me.
something, Marco, with what you just said, and maybe for him. I don't see Villano over Devorak. I see New Hook over Devorak.
Yeah, I saw
No,
some
no, no.
people
I
have.
apologize. What I want to say is like I compare. Like I would say New Hook versus Devorak and not Villano versus Devorak.
Yeah, but again, that's if you think New Hook is going to play center. I hope not. Like I hope he doesn't play center, unless he really worked on his faceoffs. Like if New Hook could be over 50% in the faceoff, then okay, but that's really the missing piece there, right? Like,
That number,
do I think
Marco, I'm now at 48.
close to
It's
50, right? Like if you could,
it's
but again,
because
like
in NHL now the 48%, it's what you get from all those young players, so the
yeah,
players with 26 years old and 25 years old, they hit that. Of course, you have exception. I know that, but you look about
but what's
Bedard,
more,
look about those
yeah,
Carlson, and I can go all the way like that, guys. It's
but
48% right
what's
now.
really important though, Coach, it's not just the overall, not the overall faceoff percentage. It's the faceoff percentage in the defensive zone, right? He needs to be over 50% in the
Villeneuve
D
is at
zone.
52, huh?
Okay, in the defensive zone.
Yeah, yeah. The
So
Villeneuve on the stat analytic, they go on the NHL edge. You're going to see that Villeneuve is on the
okay,
left, 51 or 52 on the left side.
yeah.
That was
So
something stat I
listen,
would pay attention. I got it. I don't know. I
yeah,
not remember.
that would be interesting to see. Again, like I don't care if overall you're like at 48%, but it's all about whether you can win those key important faceoffs in the defensive zone when you're on the penalty kill and all that, for sure.
Peter asked Coach Marco, who do you see a regression with production for the Habs this year?
I don't see a regression. I think again, like I wouldn't be surprised if they like I won't be disappointed if they stay about the same, like if they finish with like 91, 92 points. I just maybe it just won't be enough this year, but some people say the only reason Montreal got into the playoffs last year is because the Rangers completely collapsed, right? I don't necessarily believe that. I think because of parity, there's just a lot like remember we talked about this last week, coach. The gap between the bottom of the conference and those in between teams is just a lot less. It's hard to kind of like eat points from weak teams. There's not that many really really weak teams in the Eastern Conference. So again, I don't. The only part where I'm a little concerned for regression again is the penalty kill. I think the power play should be better, 100% with Demidov, with Dobson being added, with Budzik in the bumper. Like I think the power play has the potential to be, in my view, at least a top five power play in the NHL. It really has the potential to be that way. The only area, and coach, we're gonna like we did last year, we're probably gonna do a comparison of okay, so how many points does each line need to score? How many goals against are they gonna need? Like we're gonna do that analysis, guys. So stay tuned for that. That should be in the next couple weeks or before the end of the summer where we're gonna do that analysis. But I don't see their offensive
Super Chat.
Matt
20
Elliott
bucks.
knocked the
Boom.
door with the first goal tonight, but he did not go only with a tip goal. He did with a one-timer shot. He talked about a power play goal on the left circle. Here we go. Up the crowd. Mr. Mark Elias scored the first goal tonight. This goal going to be assisted by number 63. Guy get a great pass from the point. Before that, we have a face-off winning by Ron with the King. So congratulations for the goal of Mark Elliott. Thanks so much for that. We appreciate all the support of the channel. The number one.
Absolutely. Very nice. Very generous, Mark. And Mark, listen, like I don't think we're being pessimistic. Like we don't want to come on here and be pessimistic. We're just saying that we're seeing the whole hockey world here really, really buy in and jump on the hype train for the Montreal Canadiens, right? So overall, we're right there too. We're super hyped as well. But we're just trying to be analytical and just say that listen, like there's still some things on this team. Yes, overall they're improved, but there's certain question marks there, right? And listen, we're talking hockey, right? Like, and we're just trying to kind of like think about some of the areas that might be a little bit, talk to the fans and see if there's some things that might be a bit of an issue. So listen, I think we're all excited. I don't know if we're being pessimistic. Like we've said that this is probably the most entertaining and most kind of exciting times to be a Montreal Canadiens fan. But ultimately, like we're talking about with the penalty kill, right? So we're talking about regression. So I don't see their offensive production regressing. I think it'll be even better. I'm hoping, if they have a good start to their training camp, we talked about the importance of training camp. Hopefully the goals against are going to be down because that's really what it comes down to is the goals against. And they really need to keep their PK at the same level or better than they did last year to be competitive,
Well, so
I
good
think.
to welcome Mr. Larry Lavallée is in the house with Mark Elliott, just did a super chat. Roger Delaney knocked the door. And Pete Martin also is in the house. Thanks for all you uh,
I think
likes
I missed
you
it.
did so far. Appreciate that. Great comment about that. I would just say to you, our only players, I believe, is regression is going to be Patrick Liney. And I'm talking
Mm.
about his power point, his power play point. He's a 7.4 by 60 minutes. This is almost like top three in NHL. I don't see that. I think he's going to regress on that area because you have other players going to maybe step up over there. So I'll be one area, I believe, one player I think he's going to be regressing is maybe that
Okay.
players
And I
on the power
think I
play.
misunderstood. I think I misunderstood his question. So sorry about that, guy. So in terms of players regressing, I might surprise you a little bit here. And it's going to be for the it's going to be not his fault, but I think Suzuki, you might see a little bit of regression as well. That's because, unfortunately, with no centers to take faceoffs, if they're not able to have confidence in some other guys taking faceoffs in the defensive zone, Suzuki might have to start in the defensive zone more often than he did last year, and he might even have to be on the PK, right? So it's not going to be his fault. Like, I still think he's going to have a really good season, but his offensive production might dip a little bit just because they might rely on him more in the defensive zone than last year. So like, we'll see how it plays out, but it's not impossible that we see Suzuki. And I've said this before: if Suzuki has 80 points, but is plus 25, and the team is, goals against go way down and everything else, I don't think that's a failure for me. Like, I don't care if he gets 100 points or 90 points. Like, again, I compare him to, like, if you look at Patrice Bergeron, he was the number one setter in the NHL. I think he only went over 80 points once in his entire career. So I won't be disappointed if Suzuki has less points, if it means that, he's playing a better overall two-way game. So that's another guy that fans might want to be ready for, maybe a little bit of a dip in their offensive production.
The flip side was said to you, Marco, he's going to play less minute on the power play because they stretched him here last year. He did not play on the PK, so you get him 2 minutes, the full 2 minutes on the ice. Now with the players they have other option. I think Suzuki is going to be less minute on power play, a little bit more on the PK, yes, but I think he's going to be fine overall for his productivity. I think you're right. Vegas won the Stanley Cup with no 100 point. It's not about the number of the point, then it's about the team, how they play as a chemistry together. So I think this is right things to said. That we have a few people also. Mark Elliott right here. If I miss someone, I'm getting down, guys. Talk each other. That's great. How can you show we get supplier wise? So there was Peter. Try to check. We have other question here before we move. A question: who do you think Suzuki, Caulfield, Coley have the experience required to be a leader? I think yes. Talk about the 3+ and maybe on that one, Gary. Do you think Suzuki, Caulfield, Coley have the experience required to be leader? I think yes.
Yeah, like, I think these are now what you would call young veterans in the NHL, right? So they may be young, but especially Suzuki, right? Like, and even Caulfield, coach, like, we forget, people might discount this because it was the COVID year, but let's not forget, like, Suzuki and Caulfield did go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. They have more Stanley Cup experience than a lot of than players on the Toronto Maple Leafs, because they've made it to the Stanley Cup Final before. And Gouli, I think, is just a natural born leader, even though he's kind of younger. You just have certain people that are just born to be leaders, right? So I think they can definitely do it. You can never have enough good veterans on a team, though. So I think you can't discount the importance of players like Gallagher and Anderson. Martin Saint Louis all last year talked about how Josh Anderson was a culture driver for the Montreal Canadiens. One guy that you look to maybe step up with the departure of David Savard is Alex Carrier. Maybe he'll have a little bit more of a leadership, role to play. You still have Mike Matheson there for now. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, I think those guys are definitely ready for stepping up their leadership. But don't count out the vets. You still need some good veterans for leadership and calmness overall too, right? I think it's important.
Great point with that. Roger, will Albert get more ice time next season or less? It's all depend what happening at the training camp, so we have to wait a little bit longer for that. Jordan, good evening. We have also Mike and Maurice. All of you, thanks to be with us. Don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. Finally, I'm going to do my headline, if you don't mind, Marco.
Yeah, yeah.
Not much, but it's not this one. Is this one? For me, it's a crucial year for the Montreal Canadiens. Exactly what you just talked about this. I think the fans are going to be high expectation. They are excited. They just see progression. They want the team go forward. At the same time, on the flip side, the management have to figure out a couple of things. When I said it's crucial year, I talk about the team for the evaluation, for the future, for the long term for Hugo, but also for some players. Patrick Laine, extension is on final year contract. Mike Madison on final year contract. Kirby Doc, final year contract. He's become RFA, but still. Alex Nehuk is 1 year after that on his final year contract. Then after that, you're going to have Josh Anderson next summer. You're going to have Brendan Gallagher on with a final year contract after that. That said, Marco, is about the Montreal Canadiens. You know, like the telescope, right? You have to go a little bit deeper. So, what is the crucial year? They're going to get some answer on the deeper. Last year, you constantly talking. You're right. Yeah, two things you talk on constantly. It was evaluation and it was roster construction. You always bring this. It was the right things you said. For me, right now, it's about go deeper. Is it that part of the future or not with the Montreal Canadiens? That will impact other decision. So for me, Doc, Madison, Lining, and Alex Nehuk have to respond for the upcoming season to show for the Montreal Canadiens if they are a key or a player part of the long-term plan for the Montreal Canadiens. And of course, I can go with other players, but they are the players for me are very important, and more especially Kirby Duck and Alex Nehuk because they come from a trade from Montreal Canadiens, so they are the BB of Ken Hughes, right? They're not coming from Marc Bergevin in the past, and I think
Yeah.
this is really for me. Those players have to figure out what they look like for the upcoming season. It's a crucial year for them. Montreal Canadiens, like you said, if they don't reach 91 points, they don't make the playoff. It depends what they look like this season, right? We have to honestly, but that reminds me of the Washington Capitals 2 years ago. Washington Capitals make the playoff with no reason to be there. I think it was minus 30 or minus 34 goal differential. It's
Yeah.
rare minus team make the playoff. Montreal did it also with a minus last year. You can set, like you mentioned early, New York Rangers or whatever happening. But Marco, I think Montreal is going to step up better for the upcoming season. I still believe Montreal is going to be in the chasing the Ottawa Senator and the Tampa Bay Lightning on the spot number 3 for upcoming season. I would not be surprised if it's happening that way because they have good player compared last year, and I think this is the way I thought it would be a solid team. But Tampa Bay Lightning are not better than was a year ago. Whatever you mentioned that they are older. I don't say they're not a bad team, but they are the same team. The Ottawa Senators get some key players, Marco, to could maybe change the philosophy of that team. It's not like a big name, but they feel some old inside of Ottawa Senator, like Spence example, right? I think this feel a
Yeah.
good play on that one. I think Ulmark would be a little bit better. The young player like Jake Sanderson, solid defenseman with that. Tim Souza bring 90 points. This time is real. At the end, you're going to have a full year of Dylan Cousin. That'll be interesting to watching Cousin with Ottawa. So Ottawa is a team we don't mention early, like you fun to watch. I think Ottawa Senators is a team we have to be fun to watch for sure. But I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
you agree with me about the crucial year for what I just mentioned, or maybe you have other vision you're thinking when you say crucial year.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, Coach. It's in a way, it is similar to last year, where there's still some really important evaluations to make with certain players. The reason for that is because last year you weren't able to evaluate them, right? Like the year before that with Kirby Doc, we said it was almost like a wasted year because they didn't have, he got injured in the first game of the season, so there was a wasted opportunity because they didn't have a chance to evaluate him, right? You could almost say the same thing for last year with Kirby Doc, just because he didn't come into camp into or come to camp in shape. Then he also wasn't able to finish the season. So you do have some question marks and some players that you still need to evaluate. One thing that I think about, Coach, I don't know if you remember this, but it was Hugo was just getting in place, And I think Suzuki, I remember how this happened. I just don't remember the game or something else. But Nick Suzuki it was like in the middle of a game, Montreal was behind, and Suzuki got nailed big time. He got like clocked, and he
Didn't for
got
the
up right
bench.
away. No, I can't remember the exact situation. I just remember that he got hit really, really hard, and he got right back up, and then he ended up having a really strong end to the game. Like it almost made him angry, and then it woke him up, and he played really well. And I remember hearing like a press conference with either Jeff Gordon or Hughes saying how that when they made him captain, it was that play that in their minds they're like, okay, we have a real player here, because at that point they didn't really know anything too much about Nick Suzuki when they were just coming. But when they saw how strong he was, because he's not the tallest guy, but he's kind of like built like a fire hydrant, right? Like he's very thick. And when they saw him be able to rebound after taking that big of a hit and then up his game, and then other things too, it wasn't just that one play, but you could see that you need to see things from players before you understand whether they're going to be an important part of your core, right? So we've yet to see some players give those answers. Like we have Kirby Doc, we have some questions to figure out, especially on the back end coach. Like there's going to be such a battle at training camp. They have some really big decisions, like you said, to make around Jackeye, Struble. I would be shocked if they decide to keep Matheson around. I just don't see it. But if they decide to do that, then again they would have to. Maybe they only do that because they don't see that either Struble or Jackeye is going to be the solution for them on a bottom pair moving forward, or whatever, right? So I think in a sense the stakes are higher than last year because of the expectations that they raised through the success they had in the bottom part of the year last year. But there's still a lot of the same exercise happening with the management team in the roster construction. They know, like Ken Hughes said it, like he said it very plainly, coach, is like, we're excited. We think we're going in the right direction, but the job is not over. We still have a lot of things to build here in order to be the word he uses is a perennial contender. Every year for the next 10 years, you're just gonna pencil in, or not even with a pencil, with a pen, with ink, you put Montreal in the playoffs. That's what he wants. It's like an automatic, like Florida right now, or even Toronto, right? Like you don't have a debate about whether the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to make the playoffs. You just know they're going to make the playoffs because they know how to win. That's what Montreal is trying to build. And there's still some question marks to figure that out. So I think you're bang on, coach. Still some evaluation to do this year in their decisions on the roster construction that they've been working on for the last couple of years.
Well
Very
said.
nice. All right.
It's
What do
happened
we got?
sometimes, Marco. It is what it is. Sometimes we cannot control, but we got a super chat number 2, and we don't pop up on the screen. So we have
Oh,
Larry Lavallée confirm and I verify, and is right. Roger Delaney gave us a super chat, so maybe late, but never too late to mention that. So Larry Lavallée scored another second goal of the game. Thank you, Roger.
Super Chat.
And the second goal scored by Mr. Roger Delaney, assisted Marco by, of course, going to give to Larry Lavallée, Marco, because he mentioned that. And finally, we're going to give an assist because it's late in Ireland. Mr. Jazz got a second assist on that one. So thanks so much, Roger. But meanwhile, we did that. We have another goal, Marco. It's coming for Larry Lavallée on that one. See what we got here. And he scored the third goal of the game. I don't know what is not working, my super chat. Let's see what we got on my side. Now they're open. So sometimes the street lab is not working. But third goal tonight, we have a hat trick, Marco. So we have to do it again. Here we go, the third goal of the game on this one, a hat trick assisted by Mark Elliott and Peter August got an assist on that one. So thanks so much for all the goal we got so far tonight. Very kind of you. And we're going to start the hype on that one. So that gave us the outline tonight. Great. We have only 45 minutes to do that. And but we're going to talk about the subject of the night. We want to talk about what went wrong for the Montreal Canadiens by the general manager, by trade or by picks. It was a back in the future, honestly. And then if you follow me, guys, I make a video today about Michael Edge, the every shift, and I make some comments. So I did do it like a video coach. On that one, so you can watching that. And then a couple of days ago was Reinsenberg, honestly passed away at 65. But honestly, if you want to watch this video, I think you can find Michael Edge when you need to work, when you need to get better. And we'll see what happening for that. Gary, do you think a new hook will be a Hab after this season? I have my doubt, Marco.
Well, I think Newhook still has a place with the Montreal. I just think that it's going to be a different role than maybe a lot of people thought when he first was acquired. Let's see how he does this year. Like I think a lot of us would like to see him have kind of like a Josh Anderson type of role, like Anderson had last year. See him on the PK. You can see Saint Louis talked a lot about using his speed, not just to create offense, but to pressure the puck defensively. And I think if he can bring that part of his game, I think he can be a really, really important part of the top six. That being said, he is on the smaller side, right? So it's not impossible that Montreal might want to get bigger in their bottom six, and he might get pushed out eventually. But his speed, coach, is so elite that if he can really kind of use that to pressure the puck defensively on the PK, 5-on-5, and make himself kind of a specialist, I think if he's a player that can get you 30 points, 30 to 40 points in the bottom six and be a really big contributor on the PK, I think he's a very useful piece. But I wouldn't be shocked. Like he's not a part of the core. We're just talking about the core. Alex Newhook is not part of the core. He's a complementary piece, so he has the opportunity to be a good piece. It's just up to him to kind of, first of all, accept the role that St. Louis is going to give him, that we think he's going to get, and then it's up to him to execute with it. And then it's all about roster construction, like we said, right? Like it's not impossible. They have some smaller-ish players in their bottom or in their top nine. So I wouldn't be shocked if they decide to move him out for somebody a bit bigger, but I wouldn't count him out just because of his speed.
Great point about that. I would say something remind me the role of Max Domi with the Toronto Maple Leaf, where Domi go on the third line and then he's jumping sometimes on the top six. But again, he's struggling to be consistency. Like he scored his first goal, I think it was only in December last year, right?
I remember Newhook last year.
About, like some the kind of players now he can. I'm not talking Max Domi with 70 points. I'm talking about what he played with Toronto. He tried to figure out that he have a contract 3.5 I think he did for 2 years. So would be interesting about this. We have a run with the question: can the Habs actually trust their goaltending?
Well, I think Coach, we had many debates over this over the last couple of years. I think Montembeault is a tier 2 number 1 goalie in the league. Like he's not in that elite level starter. He's not an elite starter in the NHL, but I think he's established himself as a number 1 goaltender, right? If you look at his goal saves against, like his expected goals against, like he's right there, right? So his GSA. So I think he's serviceable, right? Like I think he's better than average is the way that I would call him, But the thing with goaltending, guys, it fluctuates wildly year to year, right? Like you have even elite goaltenders sometimes that have down years. That's why I think Montreal's strategy with goaltending, see how many guys that they have. They threw many darts at the board at the draft over the last couple of years. Like even getting Kakinen, right, is another insurance policy. I think with goaltending, like, and even Carey Price, guys. Carey Price is arguably going to be a Hall of Fame goaltender, But there are seasons where he had down seasons, right? Like there are seasons where he just wasn't as good in the regular season. So a goaltending coach is voodoo. We made that joke here before. It's just so hard to predict with goaltending. But I saw a couple of podcasters talking about Montembeault, being a little bit more critical of him and his rebound control and stuff like that. Like, listen, like he's not a perfect goaltender, but I would call him better than average. And sometimes, coach, if you play well defensively, like we had this debate. I remember the debates we used to have on it. I used to say, well, once Montreal plays better defensively, they will allow less cross crease passes and the high danger chances will be less dangerous. And you'll see Montembeault's save percentage go up because the shots that he's facing are less dangerous and stuff like that. So a lot of it has to do with how well Montreal plays defensively, right? Like if Montembeault is going to have to stand on his head because Montreal is playing like they did in October and November of last year, he might not look that good, right? But if they play well defensively, he has the potential to be a better than average goaltender. And we've seen in the NHL, you can win with a better than average goalie. Doesn't need to be elite, just better than average, and I think you'd be okay.
I think you nailed it on some point about this. I think Montembeault. Listen, guys, I think it would be his first year when the Montreal Canadiens have a better core in front of him. Like defensively, I think he's better. I know Seva was there, but still, I think, and they have more experience. They are better hockey players today. The development key a little bit more. Um, for me, Montembeault is going to be, and this for all the goalies. If you can give only one bad goal every 10 shots, Marco, that would be a good stat if you think about the way he goes between the pipes. So also, you have to make the big save at the right moment. And I think Montembeault pretty solid, Marco, overall. Um, that's a stat, we never do that, we'll never see that. The goal again average per goalie per period, Marco.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think we never have someone said, look, he have a goal again average, first period this, second period there. I need to look about this. I need to make some stats of that. But I think Montembeault, on the crucial moment, find a way to make a good save for the Montreal Canadiens. That said, Montembeault is going to be a key for the Montreal Canadiens. It cannot be 62 game between the pipe for the upcoming season. Secondly, this year, the back-to-back game is going to be really, really interesting, Marco. It's something we don't talk about, the expectation for the upcoming season, right? We forget that.
17.
And I think there will be something to find, to be something to follow up for sure. So, again, Montembeault for me is good enough for what they have at this moment. And Tobes is going to be a backup number 2. I think he's going to start with the Montreal Canadiens. And to answer to Maurice a little bit early, I think Montreal Canadiens are going to finish about Marco plus 10 to plus 15 goal differential this year. I give them plus 18, Marco.
Yeah, we'll see, right? Like, we're gonna for those of you who are really nerdy, if you really want to watch like nerdy hockey stuff, tune in for that show we're gonna do in a couple weeks where we go and we double click on everything. Like, how many goals do we think each line will need to score? What will be the goals for? What will be the goals against? What are the specialty teams? Like, we're gonna jump into all that for sure. But yeah, the goals against has to improve, coach. And I think you nailed it. Like, let's not forget, Monty got injured in the playoffs last year too, right? Is that because he played 66 games or whatever he played? Like, I think they really do need to, and especially with all the back-to-backs, 17 back-to-backs, the most of any other team in the NHL. So they're absolutely going to, I think they're at some point, they're going to probably need to play Kakinen too. Like, they're going to need all their goaltending depth this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Kakinen gets some games. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out in training camp, but I'd like to see Monty.
Before we go there, we're going to go to trivia of the week, of the night. We are after the show, past a little bit. So we're going to get there, Marco, before we go to the back of the future. And the question tonight for the people, it's an active players He has the most regular season game played without ever playing a single playoff game in the NHL. He has 776 NHL regular season game, and is approximately 20 game um, of the record NHL forward. I think it's 793. Anyhow, who is this player, Marco? About this, I don't know if you saw the answer at the beginning of the show. If you
No,
see
I
it,
didn't see it.
okay.
No, I didn't see it.
Um, I would like to hear for all of you also in the chat. Who do you think you're thinking about that player? If you think that way, Marco, what would be the first thought?
So the first player that comes to mind, but I know it's wrong because he finally made it last year, would have been Jeff Skinner. But I know he got into some games with the Oilers last year. So
Okay,
I'm trying to think. Yeah,
so this is a good point. Jeff Skinner, he played for who?
he played in the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah.
So think about this. This is a team did not play the playoff for 14 years. So you have to find a player right now, play in NHL, Buffalo Sabres, and he hold that record, but not that record, but that straight right now.
Could it be okay? Let me go through some of the guys that were there longest. Could it be Gergensen? Gergensen? Did he play in the playoffs?
Grickinson.
Yeah, Gergensen or whatever. No, Oposo doesn't play anymore, and he did make it for Florida. He was playing for Florida, and he played for the Islanders.
Last year.
Yeah, retired last year. So who else in Buffalo? I don't think. Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, that's a tough one. So who else in Buffalo has been there that long? Jeez, it's not Thompson. I don't think he's been there long enough. I don't think he's played 776 games
I
in
know
the
Jerry
NHL.
from Maryland.
Oh man, that's a tough one. Okay, I'm just going through Buffalo's roster here.
It's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to wait a little bit, Marco, for the people in the chat.
Yeah.
Canadiens player will be my guess A2. No,
is he still with Buffalo? Is he still with Buffalo right now?
So no, he is not.
Oh, okay. It's not.
PS is looking. Welcome back, PS. Thank for all the like we got so far.
It's not Reinhardt. Like he didn't play 776 games before being traded. No.
Ramis Dallin, Jazz, no.
No, it's a forward, right? Is it a forward?
Yeah.
Man.
But he's a defense. He's a defenseman. Remember, right?
Oh, okay. So he's not a forward. I thought you said he was a forward. He's a defenseman?
No, I said the record is from the forward.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So this is a defenseman?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's totally different. Okay. Man. Ooh. Ristolainen?
Yes. Ramus Ristolainen is the answer that one. So congratulations for this one, Marco.
All right.
It makes sense when you think about this question, by the way. Trade to the Flyers on that one. So
that's
congratulations. We're going to go back on the future, if you don't mind. And on that one, Marco, we're going to start with the trade. Now, they are not by the top, whatever it is. We're going to compare. We're going to forget. When you talk about trade, Marco, I thought the last 15 years be enough, but not enough. I go all the way to Patrick Roy at the end. So we're going to see the impact of the trade also. Comments about the impact, and that would change maybe in Montreal Canadiens, where I agree with disagree.
And for the record, Coach, this is a very painful thing that you're making us do, right? Like, why are you doing this to us in the middle of July, like having us relive our worst nightmares and repressed memories.
Because
Like
I believe they could
you're an
change
evil
the
man.
outcome of the history of the Montreal Canadiens. And
Yeah,
when I
sure.
did the exercise, guy, I did the exercise, by the way. I go all the way. They have a website to get to see all the trade by all the general manager.
Yeah.
And by the way, Marco, who is the general manager of the Minnesota Wild?
Right now,
Yeah,
Bill Guerin,
no,
is he the
that's
president of hockey?
shocking me. I did not know until I found this yesterday.
Is he
He
is he
became
the
the
president of
president of
hockey
the
operations?
team.
Okay, so I'm
Remember, it
not
was
sure.
involved with something inside the team. I don't know exactly was with the staff members or whatever it is, and to put this under the table, not lose his job, they move him as the president, and they announce that I think his last name is Jackson, Jeff Jackson.
Okay, okay, maybe I'm not sure. Like that's a good
I see
curveball.
that
I thought he was.
on this website. I was shocked to see that. So very interesting to hear that for the Minnesota Wild about this. So again, like I said, guys, we're going to forget. I just go 10 pick on the both side, the draft. After that, we're going to do the draft and go to the, we're not going to pass 1 hour here. But honestly, the first one come from Marc Bergevin is Sergachev versus Jonathan Drouin. Um, we know they lose that trade, but the impact of Sergachev could change the situation with Romanov, Lennartson, and a lot of things could be involved behind that trade if Sergachev stay with the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, yeah, like so, Coach. What? So just so you know, what you're doing is, are you familiar with the term the butterfly effect? If you go back in time, if so, in time travel for people who watch like science fiction and Star Trek and stuff like that, there's this thing called the butterfly effect. If you go back in time, let's say, Coach, you had a time machine and you go back 100 years, the theory behind time travel is that you have to be very careful not to change anything in the past when you go in the past, because if you kill one butterfly, it could change a whole bunch of things in the future. Even if you change a small thing in the past, it ripples, it all has connections, right? So this is very hard to predict, right? So you're right, like losing Sergachev and losing that trade. You know how we talk now about how a second center is the biggest hole for the Montreal Canadiens? Well, after they traded Sergachev, the biggest hole for many years was a left-handed defenseman to play with Weber or Petrie, right? Remember, that was the biggest thing. They tried Mete, they tried like all kinds of different players there. And that's who the guy was. That's who Sergachev was. So if they didn't trade Sergachev, what would that mean? Like, what would be the impact of that? Well, what would it look like the Montreal Canadiens going to the finals in the year of COVID if they had Sergachev playing with Weber on the left side? Like, what would that look like? But the thing is that if they did have Sergachev, would they have drafted high enough to, like, would they have ever traded Pacioretty to get Suzuki? Like, it's all these things are interconnected, Coach. Like, like you can't just pick a pony here. Like, it's all interconnected. But there's no question that trading Sergachev meant that they had a huge hole on the left side of their defense for many years, and they weren't able. And then we saw Trevor Timmins and Marc Bergevin go on an absolute spree of drafting a million left-handed defensemen, and that's why now we have a surplus of left-handed defensemen. And that's why sometimes, Coach, it's a good argument that you shouldn't draft for need, because you don't know what your need is going to be 3 years from now, right? Like, they weren't drafting right-handed defensemen because, oh, they have Weber and they have Jeff Petrie. They're set on the right side. Well, guess what? Weber retires, Jeff Petrie gets older, and they trade him out, and whoops, now all of a sudden you don't have any right-handed defense. So you just have to sometimes you have to make the argument that you trade, or so that you draft for best player available rather than what your need is, because you don't know what's going to happen 2-3 years from now. So the impact of this one, obviously, Coach, is that Sergachev left a huge hole in their left side. This was a terrible summer. Wasn't this the same summer that they also lost Radulov? and Markov as well. Like it was all the same summer. It was a really, really bad summer when you look at it. But bad trade. In retrospect, I can see what Marc Bergevin was doing. But I still find it a bit strange because you remember Hughes and Gordon talk about character a lot, but Marc Bergevin and Trevor Timmins used to talk about that all the time too, and who in the team they were trying to build when they were drafting. Character was one of the top things that they had. So there was already some warning signals about Jonathan Drouin. He sat out, things like that. He hadn't really played center. So I'd say it was like bad professional scouting to think that Jonathan Drouin was going to be able to play center. It was a huge gamble, and they lost. So huge impact to this one, coach. But again, if they had Sergachev in the short term, they might have been more successful. But the butterfly effect of that is: do they trade Pacioretty for Nick Suzuki? Do they finish low enough to draft Cole Caulfield or Gooley or like? It's very hard to kind of like untangle that reality, right? But there's no question that one. That's one that it still hurts. It still hurts.
Next one, a first and second round pick for Christian Dvorak. The panic mode.
Yeah, this is a part of the very, very, again, a bad summer by Montreal here. Um, you know, you could see that this is right after Montreal made it to the Stanley Cup final. So again, you to give Marc Bergevin the benefit of the doubt, they're just coming off the Stanley Cup final, guys, and they needed to pivot off Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Now, obviously, they didn't manage that situation very well, in my opinion. It's clear that Kotkaniemi was not happy. Like we all remember how he didn't get dressed by Dominic Ducharme in the first couple of games. We all remember when he scored and he did the four signal to the press box and all that. So there was early signals there that Kotkaniemi wasn't happy with how he was being managed in Montreal, right? So listen, it definitely was a panic move. And you can't say that first and second round pick turned out to be Dvorak didn't perform at the standard that we expected, right? Like also a lot of it has to do with expectations. People were comparing him as a replacement for Philippe Danault, and unfortunately, it just didn't get to that with injuries and everything else. It didn't kind of work out that way. I would classify this a lot less more severe of a bad trade, um, because in theory I can understand what Marc Bergevin was doing. At the time this happened, I thought it was a good move because they
Okay.
needed a center. They were just coming off and being in the Stanley Cup final. They needed a center, and I thought Dvorak would have been a good fit back then. But this is not the worst of the worst. Like it didn't work out as well as they hoped, but I wouldn't classify this anywhere near the Sergachev trade or probably some of the other ones that we're going to see here. So I would give this like if I'm giving it on 10, I would say this is like a 6 on 10.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
The next one is reverse. It should be second round pick, 2 round pick, but it was a trade or last Eller to the Washington Capitals. Uh, that moment, during that moment, Eller would request to play more time on the ice. He was thinking he want to be on the top 6. He don't have enough time, and that said, the Montreal trade him for 2 round pick, and both players they select Montreal Canadiens never play in NHL.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, coach, but didn't they use some of those picks to also get Andrew Shaw from the Blackhawks?
That deal, no.
Yeah, I think so. Like that was all part of the same deal. I think they used those 2 second round picks to trade for Andrew Shaw.
Oh no, it was not the same. Um, it was not the same second round pick. The Montreal did not get they select one of the two, I believe, but they did not never play in the NHL.
Okay. I'm I'm pretty sure, coach, like because I remember it pretty clear. Like maybe it wasn't both, but they used one of those picks, I think, to get Andrew Shaw, because I know definitely Andrew Shaw's connected to that trade. But overall, I think that was a mistake because I really liked Lars Eller. I remember back in the day, you had that kid line. You had Eller, Galchenyuk, and Gallagher playing together, and for some reason they didn't really they didn't play them often enough together. Like I think they should have played together more often. Yeah, at some points, like I think Eller was mismanaged. Like I think Michel Terrien was playing him on the wing. They were trying all kinds of different things with him. But for sure, like Eller was a solid third line center. He might have wanted to play more in the top six, but he didn't play in the top six when he got moved to Washington either. I think if they would have just played him at center and gave him a role, he probably would have accepted that. But it just, I think he didn't like how he was being bumped around the lineup, playing on wing, playing on. So again, like to me, to for a third line center, or even a second line center that is serviceable, I think, I think they probably could have gotten more. And don't forget the trade tree for this. Like they got Eller from trading Halak to St. Louis too, right? So,
Coming. It's
um,
coming.
yeah, okay, all right. So I would give this trade again. I'm pretty sure that they got Andrew Shaw, which is a whole different thing. Like Andrew Shaw, I think he had some really good time with the Montreal Canadiens. I think he was really like remember him and Gallagher on the ice at the same time. Like wow, they were a menace, really hard to play against. It's just that Andrew Shaw, like he was so reckless the way that he played that he had so many injuries and so many concussions. But I loved having Andrew Shaw. So it's not the best trade, but I wouldn't say this is a catastrophe. This trade.
Yeah. It makes sense to me. Uh, breaking news for the province of Quebec. His daughter become doctor in Australia. And this is a birthday today. So we're going to celebrate both of them. Pete Martin turned only 31 years old.
Happy birthday to you.
Pete Martin.
Happy birthday to you.
Pete Martin.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Pierre Martin.
Happy birthday to you.
Pete Martin.
Happy birthday to you.
Here we go.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Pete Martin, happy birthday, my friend. We love you. We know what you bring on the table here. Very kind of you. Congratulations to your daughter to be a doctor. It don't take only high school degrees to get there. And I think many years she was there. She studied. And now she paid off. And for the rest of her life, it's going to be great for Mr. Pete Martin daughters, and for you, Mr. Pete, only turned 31 years old. So congratulations on that one. Another draft pick, another trade here. Not big, but I think the departure of Josh George. I apologize for the spell. For the second one pick for the Buffalo Sabre, did not select any good players, by the way. Affect the career. I think it was the Toronto, I believe. I could be wrong.
He refused to get traded to the Leafs. Yeah,
Yeah,
they want
and
Brendan Shanahan wanted to get him, but he refused to
he
go
never
to the.
reached. He never played the same level with like he did with the Montreal Canadiens. But Montreal did not figure out to put a place. I think they tried to make Nathan Beaulieu there, and they did not turn around to be good.
Yeah, yeah. Josh George is like very good friends with Carey Price. Starting off in his career. The one thing I think about Josh George's is that he was a gamer, right? Like he would block shots with his face. Like, remember, didn't he play with on a pair with Hal Gill? Like just really good, hardworking, defensive player. He came from a really good deal. I think he came from trading Craig Rivet to the San Jose Sharks. I'm trying to remember the full trade tree, but he was part of the Craig Rivet trade. All of us were like, okay, who's Josh George's? And then he ended up playing top 4 minutes for the Montreal Canadiens for at least 4 or 5 years, right? And He was part of some pretty good runs in the playoffs. So I can't remember who they traded or who they picked with that second pick, coach, but I think it's a win that he didn't get traded. Like I always remember that he refused to get traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs. He ended up going to the Buffalo Sabres. But we know what happens when you get traded. I don't know if RDP is with us tonight, but we know what happens when you get traded to the Buffalo Sabres. It's pretty hard to have success on that in that franchise.
Next
So.
one, Marco. Yes, it is what you call it early. The trade was Alak for Lars Heller. And there are other. Sometimes I have more piece of the deal. I just give you the big
Yeah.
information there. But I think this is one really hurt the Montreal Canadiens, at least for the goaltender
Really?
with situation. I know they want to open the door for Carey Price, but I think to
I don't
lose
know.
Halak make something different.
I don't know if I would agree with that, coach. Like, I think like we're talking about now, like if you compare it to the situation now, what you want to do is you want to trade from a position of strength to build up areas on your team where you don't have as much depth, right? So to me, this was a smart move to move Halak because I don't think you would have been able to keep both in long term anyway. So you can debate whether they could have gotten more for Halak based on the amazing playoff run that he had against the Capitals and Pittsburgh. Like his reputation around the league was probably at its peak after that magical playoff run that he had. But again, if you look at the bet that they made is okay, Lars Eller, I believe he was a 11th overall pick or something like that for St. Louis. Big center, like to me, that was a good bet to make at that time. We know how difficult it was for Montreal to find centers. So I think it was a good bet. Eller turned out to be a serviceable player for the Montreal Canadiens. And like we talked about, and I think A2 agreed with me, is that he wasn't really managed super well by Michel Therrien back in the day, throwing him on the wing. He had really good chemistry.
A2 mentioned the chat like he was bad used by
Mismanaged.
Michel Therrien. Did
Yeah,
not find the right spot for him or the right.
for sure.
So he's
Yeah,
right about that.
you guys remember that line? Like try to think back. You had Eller, Galchenyuk, and Gallagher playing together. They had amazing chemistry, but for whatever reason, Michel Therrien just refused to ride those guys, and he kept mixing them around and trying to put Eller on the wing. So I don't buy that, coach. I'm not buying. I think that was a pretty good return for a lock, considering that they had Carey Price, right? So I think I'm okay with
Now,
that one.
after that, we have to go a little bit more deeper on that. We're going to start with that trade, Ren McDonough for Gomez.
Okay, well now you're opening up some trauma, coach. Like this is deep, deep trauma that you're inflicting on us at this stage. Like I'm not very happy that you're bringing this up, but you have to talk about it, right? This is right up there. Like I would classify this one worse than the Sergachev for Jonathan Drouin trade. This was a really bad one. This one hurt for many, many years. It was almost impossible to watch the New York Rangers and not have a deep, deep like pain in your gut watching these games and watching McDonough thrive. It's not to say that Gomez didn't have some positive contributions with Montreal. We'll all remember that run, I believe, to the conference final where Gomez and Gianta and that group, Camilleri. That was a bit like that was the year that Gainey basically had to turn over his entire roster with Koivu leaving, Tanguay was leaving, and he basically had to kind of turn over his whole roster. And we can't forget that there was a couple of things that happened here, right? The reason I think that Gainey wanted to get Scott Gomez, you can't forget that Scott Gomez was a very, very important part of the New Jersey Devils Stanley Cup championship, as well. And what Bob Gainey was trying to do is he was trying to sign Gianta, but he used Gomez as a tool to attract Gianta to Montreal. So for those of you who like what Brian Gianta did, Brian Gianta, former captain scored 30 goals, I think, a couple of times, or in the high 20s, anyways, for Montreal. Was their captain, had a couple good runs. I don't think you have Brian Gionta in Montreal during that era if Gainey doesn't go out and get Scott Gomez. So listen, I'm not saying it was a good trade. It's one of the worst ones. But again, you can see what they were doing. This coach, if many, many years later, we learn more about this. And I don't think this would ever happen nowadays in hockey. But Gainey apparently didn't even talk to his pro scouting or his scouting staff about, he basically said, okay, you can pick between this, and this defenseman, pick whoever you want. And apparently Trevor Timmons lost his shit when he heard, when he found out that McDonough was the guy that they were trading away. But that being said, so huge mistake there. But then maybe I think the year after that or the year before, the same thing happened to the New York Rangers that benefited the Montreal Canadiens. So in this one, Gainey said, okay, pick whichever defenseman you want for Gomez, and we'll do that. But for the Alex Kovalev trade, Bob Gainey said, okay, you can pick whoever you want between Plekanec and Joseph Ballet, or there's all these other players in the Montreal Canadiens pipeline. And the Rangers chose Joseph Ballet instead of Thomas Plekanec for Alex Kovalev. So again, butterfly effect, like you win some, you lose some, like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So they lost this one, but I would say that Alex Kovalev trade with the Rangers was a huge win, right? So the impact of this, we talked about with Sergachev, how there was a huge gap on the left side of their defense. This is another part of that, right? Like what would McDonough look like playing with Subban or Weber? Like a totally different universe. But again, it's hard to know what would have happened if he was there. But there's no question this one still hurts even now thinking about it, for sure. Ooh, yeah, that's a bad one. That is a bad one, for sure.
Mike Ribeiro versus Jesse Ninima.
Yanni Niinima. Yeah, I remember Yanni Niinima very well. Right-handed defenseman, not a bad defenseman. Like he had some good time in Dallas. Again, I think this is a huge fail on the pro scouting side of things here for the Montreal Canadiens. They probably remembered Yanni Niinima being a bit of a different player. But if you'd watched Yanni Niinima the year before they traded for him, you were not happy about this trade. Now, we'll remember the whole situation with Mike Ribeiro. What was the thing they called him? Les trois, c'est qui appelait Ribeiro, puis Dagenet, puis les trois amigos. There's that whole thing, the three amigos with Ribeiro and Dagenet. So Ribeiro needed to leave Montreal. There was just a lot of personal issues, and it wasn't going to be a fit anymore. But it's clear that the return for Mike Ribeiro was awful. He went to Dallas. I believe he was almost a point per game player for at least 5 seasons after that with Dallas. At the very least, he was their second line center, probably good for about 60 points. But listen, I understand why they had to move Mike Ribeiro, but it's just getting shafted here with Yanni Niinima as the return. That definitely set them back. But hey, don't worry. They got David Desharnais instead.
Yep. So the next one, a little bit older, this one, but Vincent Anfous for a first round pick, second round pick, a fifth round pick, and no one of them make a really long term with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, this one I was really upset about. So I believe this is where he got traded to San Jose, right? So, and I think the first round pick turned into Marcel Hossa. Coach, am I right? Is it Marcel Hossa that they? Marcel Hossa,
the
for
first
those
round pick, he was.
Yeah. So Marcel Hossa, for those of you who don't remember, Marian Hossa's younger brother, had a spectacular start to his NHL career with Montreal Canadiens. I think he had like 3 goals in his first like 4 games. Burst on the scene against the Toronto Maple Leafs on Hockey Night in Canada. Had the entire fan base super excited. We remembered like remember Valerie Bure, Pavel Bure's younger brother. Like, okay, maybe we have another home run here with a younger brother. But it didn't work out for Marcel Hossa. Don Fus was Montreal Canadiens captain at that time. He for a lot of people that don't remember, Vincent Danfus, when he first joined the Montreal Canadiens, even on the 1993 Cup run, he was a winger. But then he started playing center after the cup run. So he was an important center for the Montreal Canadiens, and arguably, he's the best forward that Montreal, until Suzuki hit this, the 89 point mark. I think Danfus and Turgeon are the ones to have the most productive seasons for the Montreal Canadiens at forwards in the modern era, right? So Danfus went on to have a really, really good, strong back end of his career, playing with Owen Nolan in San Jose. Really reinvigorated his career, going to San Jose, playing with Owen Nolan. So good trade for San Jose. Not the best return here for Montreal for sure.
Back Ricky for Zubros, second, a 6th-round pick. After that,
Yikes.
Ricky,
Oh.
people said, he keep playing, and he got 70 points, 65 points, and 53 points, and I think it was like 60 games. So his production after that trade, considered for Mark Rickey, he was still over 30 years old at that moment. But just remember that one more pick after that one, and one more trade.
Yikes, Coach! Now you're getting into these are very dark times that you're heading us into. This is, I'm trying to remember. It was like Dana Zuberis, Richard Zednik, Trevor Linden, like that kind of era here. Petrov. I think our first line was, I think it was Dana Zuberis, Petrov, and Koivu or something. Like it was bad. Like this is really bottom of the barrel. And it wasn't like they were tanking either, right? Like it was, it wasn't like now, like, those years, the last couple of years, the rebuild that we just suffered, at least we knew it was a rebuild, but this was just painful hockey to watch. So this trade for Mark Recchi,
really bad those year before that. And I'm going to get a question for all of you in the next couple of minutes, but yes, it wasn't the right time. We're going to move on with the time, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The next one is the last one. That was the knockout of everything. This is what really the trajectory of the Montreal Canadiens changed forever, I believe. The trade of Patrick Roy for, many other players, Kovalenko, but Martin Rositzky, guys, that changed everything right here.
Well, yeah, like, you can't talk about the butterfly effect of bad trades without mentioning this. Poor Régent Houle. Régent Houle, wrong place, wrong time, wrong guy for this job. Like I think most Canadiens fans love Régent Houle. Like he's a great ambassador. He's still involved with the team. Works with the alumni. Everybody loves Régent Houle. Like I didn't watch. I'm too young to remember the 70s Canadiens, but he was an important part of that team as well. Like had terrible finishing from what I hear, but listen, Régent Houle is like an important member of the Montreal Canadiens organization. But I think it's, if you ask most Habs fans who the worst general manager in Canadiens history is, I think most people would say Régent Houle. And it's mostly because of this trade, right?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I look about the trade. Also the draft pick, because that will be the next subject after that, a couple of them. The draft pick, when we talk about, guys, we stop at 2012. I don't go low. But if you look about the performance of GM, did both. I've been with you. We scream about Marc Bergevin and Trevor Timmins since 2003. For
Yeah.
Regent Hull, so it's 5 years. His best player he select is Brad Brown at 330 game.
Shh.
First round pick.
Yikes.
First round pick I'm talking. I'm not checking after that. So to give you an idea, not only bad on the trade, but bad on that category of the initial draft. That was where the beginning of everything fall apart, uh,
Yeah.
Marco.
Yeah. And like to me, the craziest thing about that trade is that they also threw in Mike Keane. Like just trading a Watt for that package was bad enough. But then you also trade Mike Keane, who is also your captain at that time. Like there was this weird phase where Montreal was like trading away their captains back to back to back. They traded Kirk Muller, who was their captain. They traded Carbonneau, that was their captain. They traded Danfus, that was their captain. And then they traded Mike Keane, that was their captain. Like, coach, like the big thing for Montreal Canadiens history, on passe le flambeau, right? Like that's the whole history. Like le flambeau gets, the flame gets passed from generation to generation. Well, there's something broke there, right? Like that's where the end of that was, because you can argue that they had Pierre Turgeon that was only there a year, right? But remember when they opened the Bell Center, he was the one that got the flame from from Jean Beliveau, I think. Like, but there's a whole like think of it as a link in the chain. You know, there was a broken link in the chain that happened around this time, but it wasn't just this one trade. Montreal just kept trading their heart and soul captains, and just really questionable kind of because until that point, coach, like during the Serge Savard era, they still found a way to draft well, even though they were in the playoffs every year, right? And they were having deep runs, like 86 to 89. They went to the finals twice. They won a cup, made it to the finals. They had a couple of years where they got bounced by the Boston Bruins, who finally found a way to beat them in the late 80s, early 90s. But that's you're right. That, to me, that era, the whole history of the Montreal Canadiens, that was the end of it. Now we're like in a new age of the Montreal Canadiens, and we're only starting to see, a really bright future now, right? Like even though Montreal did make it to the finals in 2021, and they did have a couple of good runs with Price and Subban and that era, but that was a big turning point for sure.
Those trade, like I didn't mention Pierre Durgeon trade, by the way. I can go a little bit
Yeah,
more deeper, guys. I'll just give
yeah,
you an idea.
Leclerc.
That time of 93, after 93, 95, that K2 and Marco mentioned was difficult.
Yeah,
Now, I look about
oh,
different draft by Montreal Canadiens under Marc Bergevin. So it's not under any other GM. And you're going to see that way, you're going to see where's the other pick. But I did not pick before 2020. And the 2020 and 2019, Montreal select Coley, and so it's not part of that. And I think one of them was Cole Caulfield. So, and 2018, guys, Montreal Canadiens select Kokanemi versus Brady Kachuk. Kokanemi have a good, he's a playing NHL. He played not bad, but I think that trade changed honestly the trajectory where we at today. Imagine we have Brady Kachuk over Kokanemi. That would not be where we at today on the office for sure, no doubt in my mind. But that would not say would be better today with what we were supposed to
well,
be.
that's the question, right? Like, so again, it's the butterfly effect, coach. Like, so if Montreal drafts Brady Kachuk instead of Kotkaniemi, then do they win a Stanley Cup in 2021 or 2022? Like when they made it to the final, like they'd have a very different team. Like without, like Kotkaniemi had a good playoff, by the way, though, for Montreal. Like he scored that overtime goal against Toronto. He scored some important goals, but Brady Kachuk is Brady Kachuk, right? Like I think that's a pretty different looking team with him in that team. But if Montreal has Brady Kachuk, do they do a rebuild? And do we have Lane Hudson? Do we have Demidov? Do we have all the Michael Hage? Like everything that's happened since the rebuild? In that reality, coach, I'm not sure we are where we are right now if Brady Kachuk is there. But Brady Tkachuk is a very unique player. There's only there's two Tkachuks in the NHL because they're brothers, but I could think you can count on one hand in the NHL players that play like the Tkachuks, right? It's a very unique opportunity to be able to draft somebody like a Tkachuk. Um, so at least they didn't draft. Who was the guy that everybody wanted? Zadina. Zadina was who everybody wanted for that draft. So good pick for them. Like Detroit ended up drafting Zadina, and we kind of saw how that worked out. So it wasn't the worst pick they could have done at number 3. But let's not forget, Coach, there's other players there that Montreal could have gotten. There's Quinn Hughes, the newest member of the Montreal Canadiens, Noah Dobson, was drafted that year, a little bit later on.
Evan
So
Bouchard.
Evan Bouchard,
The defenseman
so
that
yeah,
year was excellent. Like he was like
yeah,
excited about that one over there.
yeah. So
Next one,
tough one.
go ahead. 2017, Rand Poland about this. Now he said, okay, not too bad. After him, I'll give you some name. We have Jake Ottinger. Now we have Carey Price. I can understand that, like you cannot go there. But following him, Morgan Frost, Elliot Tovanen. Then we have Nicola Hag. And then we have the big name I'm going there is a little bit better. By the way, Gustav Lindstrom got by this, but following by Jason Robinson.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, like it's not he played I think Paling. Would you take Ryan Paling on this team right now? I would. Like he would be a perfect fourth line center, left-handed shot. I think he's a good player. Like I think he's still pretty young here, and he's going to be. I think obviously the biggest thing with Paling is you had the misfortune of having that monster game against the Leafs, and then everybody's expectations went through the roof for him. But Coach, it's later in the first round. I get it that there's some players that we can cherry pick that maybe they could have picked, like Jason Robertson, but other than Jason Robertson, I would take Paling probably over Morgan Frost, to be honest, because I don't think Morgan Frost is a very good two-way player, to be honest. So I don't think it's a terrible pick. I just think maybe it was just bad how it worked out for Ryan Paling. But again, like could they have not traded for Dvorak and just let Paling be the fourth line center in Montreal? Maybe that would have been a better move. Yes, he still needed to learn, but maybe just a little bit of lack of patience with Ryan Paling, to be honest. And Coach, you were mentioning, I think it was one of your live streams recently, how Montreal has a history of, and these are two players, history of putting players in positions too early when they're not ready for it. Kotkaniemi and Ryan Paling are perfect examples of that. Probably this is, the one thing we can say about the Marc Bergevin, some people don't like Trevor Timmins and they can look at his draft record. I think the biggest failure in the Bergevin era is the player development, right? I think we'd agree on that. And that's the biggest strength that we see now with the existing organization. So imagine if you have Kotkaniemi and Paling in the existing administration that Montreal has now, where they're developing players a bit better. I don't hate Ryan Paling as a hockey player. I think he was a good pick, and I think Montreal gave up a little too early on him, to be honest.
That year, 2017, was a good pick, and then it showed, by the way, just so people want to know that. That'd be good. I'm going to give you like 3 pick right there. All the pick were under Marc Bergevin. 2015, Noah Johansson. 2014, Nikita Sherbak. 2013, Mike McCarron. And 2010, I think it was 2010, I could be wrong here, or maybe 11. No, it was 12. Dinardi. So, yes, between 20 to 30, Troy Timmins cannot plug at least one good hockey player. You can see all of them, they was not a great. And every other team, they pick up a good players. I can go one of them one by one, but still, you can see where Trevor Thomas was not good on the position. He had no problem on the top 5 or top 10. Sergachev, Carey Price, Kalchenak, there's someone else. But otherwise, 20 to 30, Marco, he could not find a players right there on that range.
So I don't know, Coach. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. Like I haven't looked at this in a while, but I've went through and looked at this in the past. You know, and looking at what players were available. I think for McCarron too. Like after McCarron, there wasn't that much. I think it was trying to remember which year. Like I think Pasternak got picked like right before one of these. I can't remember which one. To me, the biggest one that I here's the like I don't know if you have this one, Coach, but
Sean
here's a good
Theodore,
back.
I'll just give you a name for
Yeah,
him. Sean
yeah,
Theodore
yeah.
was the one after Malcolm McCarron. And a little bit later
Okay,
was Ren Hartman. And you have Jason
okay,
Dickinson play 500 game, but Shane
yeah,
Theodore behind that. But again, if you think about this guy, it's most of them is center, center, center,
yeah,
center.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
where they want big size.
yeah. So to me, like so the Tenorti one, I think that was like Montreal not really adapting to the post lockout era. You know, like Tenorti just couldn't skate. You know, and I think they hadn't really kind of accepted that you needed more puck moving defensemen or players that can get around the ice. Joel Juleson is, I think, just a bad luck case. Like he had those like crazy string of injuries, like to his eye. You know, he's still sticking. He's hanging in there in the NHL, Coach. So listen, to me, these are not game changers too much. And look at where they were picking, right? Like Montreal was, you know, playing. They're pretty successful here. Like you know, they're picking later in the draft. But here's a back to the future for you, Coach. Okay, and we've talked about it here before. The first draft for Marc Bergevin, or yeah, it was Marc Bergevin, I think. Carey Price.
No,
What
not
if
Marc
they had picked?
Bergevin, that 2005. So it was Bob Gainey.
It was Bob Gainey. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, so I know this is
2005, the
different.
only thing I said to you, Trevor Timmins was his second year working with the third year
Okay,
working with
okay,
the Montreal Canadiens. But I just want
yeah,
to let you know, Noah Owenson, 26. After that, Beauvillier, all right. But you have Sébastien Ao, guys, at 35 overall pick.
yeah.
Ouch.
But yeah, but again, like a lot of teams missed on him, Coach. Like it's not like it's not as bad as Kakaniemi. Like Kakaniemi for me is they reached to get him, right? Like nobody had caught like yes, he was a riser in that draft, but most people had Kachuk over Kakaniemi, right? To me, like when you're getting later in the first round, it's more understandable that you would have your own list and you know, you could, you know, again, sometimes teams just get lucky and they hit on a player, right? But to me, the most egregious one of these is for sure is Kakaniemi. Even though I understood what they were trying to do at the time, and a lot of people were on the Grant McCagg hype train because this was, I think, the coming out party for Grant McCagg, right? Because he was all over Kakaniemi on Twitter, you know, talking about it. But generally speaking, here, um, I'm not going to hold their feet to the fire too much. Like if you look at, I remember seeing this study, Coach, looking at the Trevor Timmins draft record. And if you look at the average games played in the NHL per team in their draft picks, Montreal was in the top 10 in the NHL in terms of the amount of average amount of NHL games that their draft picks played in the NHL. Trevor Timmins is a very, very good record. So
So
he
what
might
I'm
not
doing
hit
right now,
the home runs.
Marco, on homework, I did a salary cap. Now I'm doing on the draft. I'm picking
Yeah.
the last 15 years. I pick the top best team from 1 to 3, round 1 to 3. Then I'm doing round to 4 to 7. And then after that, I'm going to go 1 to 7. So it will be the number of the game, how many players make the NHL play over one of the game, and I again go all the way like that. So that will give us an idea what it looked like for 2010 to 20, Um, no, it's going to be 2000 to 2020 because I don't want to go close to the 4 years gap yet. It's not fair to go there.
Yeah.
I think for me, Trevor Timmins, Marco, uh, he's he get better at the end of his job with the Montreal again. Before that, he was really in the difficult. He did
I
not
don't know,
carry
coach.
on.
Like,
He did not
I don't know if I
again.
agree. Like you know, and we don't even so we're focusing on his misses in the first round, but we're not even talking about picks like Gallagher and like
But
picks
this is
like
only
PK
one
Subban.
Marco for 15 years. Gallagher.
Yeah. Well, no, there's PK Subban. There's Jake Evans. There's
A
there's
second,
also like
for the total of what he did for what 18 years with Montreal Canadiens, he did not pick up on the first round the quality of what they request on that one. You have 7 years where he could be better on the pick we just
I
mentioned
I
there for Travis
I
Timmins.
would pin it, coach. I pin it more on like we can agree to disagree, but I think it's more to do with the development of those
Yeah.
players
So this
and
was really the mess of the staff the development from Montreal under Marc Bergevin about that. That would be honestly on that one. I want to. We have 15 more minutes. We did not go to the NHL Montreal Canadiens, the World Junior Championship. We're going to skip the clash tonight. When I get there, if you don't mind, that'd be great. And a lot of people in the chat, don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. A lot of great comments left and right. We appreciate a lot the all the people. Look, uh, the World Junior Championship, the World Junior Summer Showcase today. You have two games, but Mooney and Pratt did not play for Team USA and Team Canada. Uh, and then both of them lost today against Sweden and Finland. Then we have Ato Koivu, and again scored a goal. And Michael Edge played with the Team Canada. He was on the third line as a winger, and he played on the power play. And I want to show to you guys the two goal of the
Koivu.
Koivu, and you can see there on the left side, Marco, for that. And I'll give you an idea what happening for this goal. The full goal on his last two games for Koivu, Marco.
Yeah, like again, I haven't seen Koivu play that much, but he's looking like Patrick Laine there on the left circle and on the one timers. I did watch part of those games, and he looked pretty good. Like, really good. I think that Finland squad looked pretty good, and they were feeding them the puck, throughout the power play there. I can't say I was overly impressed with Michael Hage in the inter squad games, and what I saw. I'm still like I like Michael Hage, but he's really going to need. I'm very curious. I'm going to follow him very closely this season to see if he's rounding out his game. Do you have any concerns about Hage and his perimeter play, coach? Like, do you
No,
see
he
him?
drive to the net, Marco, all the time. Like yesterday, he drive to the net. Like he almost scored another goal. Yesterday, he scored a goal exactly there. Look, he's in front of the net right there. It's coming on the side. This is the second goal, exactly the same position. He scored a goal yesterday against Canada, the white team, and he was right
Mhm.
there. He coming for the middle, trash the net, and then he have another tip from net. He got pushed, but that was is no. I'm not worried about this at all. Michael S, guys, huge seasons coming from him. This is going
Yeah.
to be with Montreal the next 3 years. NC this year, Laval after that, and Montreal after that. The kid is so good. If you listen, Matthew Sheffer, what he said about Michael Edge today, uh, look, we have a solid player right there. It's just to improve his game. It remind me a lot me Cole Caulfield. When I said that, when I about Cole Caulfield, it's not about put a puck in the net, Marco. It's about his 200 feet game. Sometimes he's not follow all the way down. Uh, as a center, you have to go at the goal line. But I think it's going to be a solid pick for the Montreal Canadiens. When he's going to learn to play the right way, and that's going to
That's
be now.
yeah.
Some people said no center. Some people said no winger. So we don't know exactly. But I think for me, Marko is going to be great at long term for the Montreal Canadiens.
That's what I want to see, Coach. Like that's what I'm going to be following to see if he rounds out his game on kind of both sides of the puck and again, like lots of turn. Like remember last Wednesday, we were talking about how line 8 turned the puck over a lot at the offensive blue line. Those are the kinds of things that I see with Hage, like a little bit of overhandling at the offensive blue line, and I want to see him kind of go to the net a bit more. So it's gonna,
Did you watch my video today?
No, I missed it. I haven't
Okay,
had
so
a
it
chance
was
to see it.
Michael Edge, guys. I make the breakdown of Michael Edge about 9 shifts, but you can see, like, decision making. It's just a young age, right? It's just like entry zone. The first time he stopped about 5 feet inside the blue line. At second time, he go down to that hash mark. What happening? The defenseman follow him, right? He open up more the space. Another time, he's coming on the same side, but he's not. He's coming with a wide stand, Marco, like 6 feet between legs. So what you have wide stand, you're not enough balance, and then you lose
Hard on the puck.
power to pass the puck. Example on the left side, he missed the pass with it because he was just the weight balance. Second time he's coming, Marco, same thing, but now he used his weight on the right foot. He edge his left foot, and now he cut in front of the net. He almost scored. Exactly what he did, the goal you just saw him. It's just experience to figure out that. Um, he entrance a lot on the left side. A normal is a right shooter, right? So it's normal he go there. On defensive side, not too bad. Good game yesterday against Team White, against the team red and white. But at the end of the day, by the way, go on online. The fight between Michael Edge and Atos Cuivo today. Like
What?
they
Oh no, I
almost
missed that.
dropped the
Really?
glove. They was bark each other. They get 2 minor penalty, both of them. Uh,
Funny.
so
That's funny because they had those two like I don't know if you watched that, Coach, but they did like an interview together for the Montreal Canadiens social media. They did like a Q&A together, so that's
really,
hilarious because they spent a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
time in the.
yeah. You
That's
see on
cool.
the social media, like they push each other and then they come to the bench. They block each other all the way to the end. All of that. So
That's hilarious.
very interesting to see that again. For Cuivo, not sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Now pay attention, guys. Not Michael Edge, but not Michael Edge, but they are all a little bit more, older for them on that World Junior Summer, more for Cuivo. But at the end of the day, we have to give credit for Cuivo. Finland is really uh, not solid team for the World Junior Championship. But the Sweden, oof, the Sweden
oh yeah,
guys,
yeah.
they are 3-0 right now. They just beat all of them. They're looking good at Sweden. They have a lot of rookie. They have a lot of undrafted players going to be next year for the 2026. Sweden is very good. So it'll be very interesting to watch. The Team USA, when they're going to make that team together, they will be a solid team. They're missing a
So
couple of
Mooney
pieces of
did.
the players. Some people for Canada or USA did not play for the rest of the week. I follow every time, everything. I got the USA TV for the week. So
But
again,
why is it that Mooney didn't play, Coach? Like I know they have two. They have
because they have
two.
too many players, so they just try to. I'm sure you're going to play tomorrow, but great first game for the
Yeah,
little
yeah,
John. But the second game, it's just fun to watch, Mooney.
yeah.
So
Yeah, remember I was telling you that like, I was watching some of his clips again, and I watched part of that game against the first game he played for the U.S. and he reminds me of Samsonov.
yeah,
Remember Sergei Samsonov?
yeah.
Yeah, I think he kind of reminds me of him a little bit. Like I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Sergei Samsonov, but same kind of height, like same kind of like structure. But just like to me, Coach, it's his perseverance, right? He reminds me of Lane Hudson a little bit with how heavy he is on the puck for a small guy. He's so like he has such a good motor, and he wins a lot of his puck battles for a small guy. So I think that might be a pick, coach, that we look back on as like a steal. Like I think that's
Well, I think
McGalvin's
also I want to mention one thing. Michael Edge is more avier. Is it avier or AV?
yeah, heavier, yeah,
So you
heavier.
can see he gets some muscle mass for him. But again, we have to see what he's going to do. Big, huge year for with Michigan for Michael Edge. You remind me a little bit
Yeah.
Jacob Fuller last year, second year. And
Yeah.
Michigan is not a powerhouse like it was before. Many players from junior playing NCAA, like we have to follow. Powder,
Big Ten.
yeah, and Penn State. You have Michigan State, Boston University, Boston College. The big team will be there, but again, it will be fun to and see many players for the Montreal Canadiens prospect for coming. We have a lot of
Yep.
subject we want to talk. We're going to skip Marco tonight. Patrick Laine, Caden Coley contract, the ab training camp. And we have the clash. We just skip there. We're going to bring you a couple of news in NHL before you leave. You'll hear about that. And I talked about this yesterday, and I'm shocked to see that. But he has a good year. But it was honestly his first year in NHL at 26 years old. He played 20 minutes. He was really good for the Winnipeg Jet. But I'm shocked they gave him $5.75 million. For me, it's a bit risky. Hopefully, he's going to respond well next year. And I'm not against him. It's just like I thought for 5.75 1 year, a little bit. I don't know. I think he would be a little bit better at $4 million. And they avoid the arbitration. He was request $6 million. The Jet was only at 2.5, and now they gave him 5.75. I know you
Yeah.
feel good about that contract.
Yeah, there's a couple of things at play here. So first of all, salary cap going up. So we probably still our eyes are not adjusted to seeing these salaries yet for these kinds of players, right? So if you adjust this to what the cap will be, the percentage on the cap, like we know, is going to be a bit different. But the other thing that you have to, so there's two other things. He's a right-handed defenseman, if I'm not mistaken, right? So there's a premium for that right now in the
He's a
NHL,
left
as we've
defenseman.
seen. Is he left? Okay, I thought
Yeah.
he was right.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the same
Okay,
thing.
let's
He's
try-
the same. If I can recall it, he's the same like Stanley.
Okay,
For
so
the last couple of years, both of them was back and forth on the third pairing.
Okay, so I scratched that. The other thing I was going to say, though, is the Winnipeg factor, right? Winnipeg, it's very, very hard for them to go out and attract and keep players in that market. So if you have somebody, when you still have control, sometimes you have to pay a bit of a premium to do that. So to me, those are two things that maybe like make it a bit kind of like a bit of a sticker shock to this one, but it's not as bad as you think, right? Like he's going to be a bottom pair defenseman most likely, but to me, that's the biggest area that Winnipeg needs to improve is on their back end. So you need to secure him. You can't afford to be losing guys on the back end. So to me, this has Winnipeg written all over it. Just we have a player, we have control over this player. We don't want to lose this player. We have a lot of problems finding players that want to come here. We have a guy that wants to be here. So maybe it's a slight overpay, but I think it's going to be okay.
Good point about that. I want to mention two more things before we leave. NHL streaming, guys, overseas. So people like me, that Roy Kenneth, and other guys, if you're not in Canada, that's not touch you a lot, or North America. But now the NHL open up the overseas streaming with 200 countries with the DAZN. So don't say anybody, you have a pirate box here helping you, but you can see all the stuff. So if you have is it a blackout? I think it is, right? A blackout, and your area with TSN or whatever it is, you can see now those games on DA and ZN. A huge deal for that. And interesting. Back to Dylan Sandberg, I was trying to explain to you or show to you it was a subject tonight. The contract Caden Coley, he looked very good compared to Dylan Sandberg, Marco.
Yeah, I can see that.
Again, like that one. And finally, the last one, Calgary signed Marco Martin Pospisil 3-year deal at 2.5. I like that deal. Good for him. A very good first year. Then last year he
Plays
struggled
with
a
the
bit more. This is
yeah.
a bottom six player, but at 2.5, I think it's good for they get him. He have a great 2 years with the Calgary Flame. On that, my friend, that's conclude what we got tonight. On this one, we did almost everything, but I think it was fun to see you again. By the way, if you have a chance to talk with Frank, he's not my. I cannot get reach him right now,
Yeah.
so if you
Sure,
don't
yeah, I
mind,
forgot
that'd be
to.
good. We're going to get
Yeah.
there more and more, guys. We have 69 days. We're sending 69 days now before the beginning of the
Nice.
season. So we're getting close, Marco, of the season, 1-1. We have more subject to talk about. And that's pretty much what we got. We still invite everybody to follow us on the channel. And then what are you looking for now? You run left and right, but what is your plan in front of you right now?
Hockey wise, or just like for my
Yeah,
summer, you mean, or hockey
hockey
wise? Well,
wise.
yeah. So I think we're gonna start seeing hopefully some some of the GMs come back from the cottage here soon and start seeing some things happen a little bit. But we'll finish this World Junior Showcase. We'll kind of follow that a little bit more. Right now, there's still some 3-on-3 hockey that we're seeing in the Montreal area. We didn't talk about that too much, but it's cool to see Patrick Laine, Demidov, and Suzuki and Carrier playing together. Jake Evans is there too, so kind of watching some of that. It's little oases of hockey here and there, Coach. Like at this time of the year, I play a lot of NHL on my PlayStation. Because I do some fantasy stuff with my PlayStation to get my hockey fix there. So maybe, Coach, that would be a fun thing. Is we could do kind of like I know that you probably don't have a PlayStation, but we could figure out a way to get like a stream going with my PlayStation, and we could do a full on the PlayStation. You can do kind of like a full GM simulation of the season with players and stuff like that. That might be something fun for us to do as well. So playing some video games.
We can do that for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be
That's
good
it for me.
about that. So we'll let you go right now. I appreciate a lot, Marco, to be with us. I can wait to you next week. If you have anything else, we look forward to having big news. We're going to be back here for sure for the Montreal again. So thanks, Marco. Wish you an amazing, great weeks. I will see you only in August.
That's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. Have a good one.
Marko
Take it
Larabie,
easy.
guys, from Osbury was with us on the great Wednesday night, July 30th, 2025. Fun to work with Marco. We still missing in our tap. Me and Marco, we talk about in our tap all the time. We miss the man. Was glad to see Luciano tonight around. Luciano, hopefully doing well. And glad to see you. Ron the Kings, Ron the man. Ron 20 was with us tonight as a moderator too. 3 super chat, 3 goal. We got tonight for the Marc Elliott, Larry Lavallée, and Roger Delaney. I can't wait. We're going to do this 326 times next year. I hope so. Anyhow, thanks to be with us tonight. All the likes, I appreciate a lot. We'll be back only Friday night. Until then, my friend, the only reason I know we'll be back again Sunday at the recap. Be well, be healthy. Find a way not only donate your day, but find a way to donate the second app. What? Someone said 2025. It was a great to see all of you tonight. And of course, the only reason we get better and better. You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. Oh, Mr. 007, we talked about you last night. We said we're missing Mr. 007. Très content de te voir ce soir, mon 007. And thanks so much, everybody. The Hockey Nation, I show the Ab Nation, and the heart, and all the cheese and Taylor. Want to tell you one more thing. Peace. Love you, friends. Have a great night, everybody. I will see you Friday night for a fun Friday night with Luciano at the barbecue, and Billy at the Billy Bar. Good night, everybody. and booyah!